Doing now Daf Yu Dalet Mesechus Avodah Zarah. Marias is a fish sauce. It's made from salt, salting the intestines of the fish, and it was very, very fermented for a long time and very tasty food. The Romans made it. Vagvina and cheese, but tiraiki is a medicine mixture. Shanochem asurim v'isuran isur hana. Divrei Meir. Chomorim ein isurim isur hana. These few things they mentioned here is a question if it's you can sell it or you cannot even sell it because it's Asr Bahana, and obviously all these things the question is about wine. Yain Nesach. Now the Gemara goes into a discussion. If you're allowed to use yain, wine from Truma, you want to put that into this Muras, in this fish sauce. Rabbi Matter, because you always considered like you are wasting it. You put this wine into the fish sauce, you can't really see it. It's just pouring it in to take away a certain bad smell or taste. So you're not allowed to waste the wine from Truma for such purpose. Rabbi Eliezer, so the same argument also has a different implication that if you did put in the wine of Truma, according to Rabbi, it's Oisel Lazarm. Why? Because he holds that it has a positive effect. And it's considered you're using it positively, so it means also that it is recognizable in the fish sauce. If so, a Zara not allowed to eat it. A Zara not allowed to eat Truma. Rabbi Eliezer Shimon Matel Lazar. He says no. This sauce does not it's just there to take away the bad smell, and it's not considered that it's positively doing something, accomplishing. So that's why a Zar is allowed to eat it. According to him, what is the reason why can't you eat Marias from a goy? Harei hayayin is abed boy. If you hold that the wine gets lost there, it doesn't accomplish any positive thing. So why can't you buy Marias from a goy? Mishim tafshule bishum. It's supposed to be mishum. Mishum tafshile nachrem. Total different reason. The reason is because it's considered food that goyim cook. So the thing is that it's not necessarily, but I guess there were people that cooked this sauce also. So we know that the gechomer, the gezerah, anything that goy cooked, you can't eat. So that's why when you buy this marias, we have to be afraid maybe a goy cooked it. So the Gemara is going to ask on this. Vatani uman mutter. A uman, if it's a professional guy, he sells it for you, then you're allowed to buy it from him, because the professional people don't mix in anything. They want to try to make it unadulterated, so you don't have to worry that they put in wine. So if it's not a professional, just buy it from a regular person. He's not so not so scared about his reputation. So then you're scared that he might put in wine. So the Gemara is asking now, Uman mutter loy b'she'eina mevushel. When you say Uman is mutter, does it not mean when it's eina mevushel? Obviously, because if it's mevushel, it's b'shil nachon. The Chavas says eina Uman aser ap b'she'eina mevushel. So the Reish and the Sefer must talk the same story. So we're saying that even though it's eina mevushel, it's still aser. We must talk by eina mevushel. If it's mevushel, even by Uman, it's aser, because of b'shil nachon. So we must talk that it's eina mevushel. If so, what is the answer? As shehu little as a zuham machzav Avodah Zarah aser. It must be a different reason. That if we're talking about taking away the zuham of Avodah Zarah, that makes it aser. So according to that, it has to do with total different reason that Avodah Zarah has a special isser, even if it's only made to take away the bad smell. Now, hanoah here means obviously any type of fraction of hanoah, even if it's a far-fetched hanoah, it's still usher. That's why by Muras, since it's yayin esach and it has association with Avodah Zarah, that's why we usher even if it's only meant to take away zohama. That's the din of yayin esach. Omer Rabbi Yochanan bar Merya, kedivrei mi shehu oimer umen mutter belvad beyoidai. Only if you know this guy personally, you know that he, I guess, he doesn't want to ruin his reputation towards you. Rabbi Yochanan ver blazer. So now the Gemara brings down a new sugya here. It's a bit complicated, this sugya. I hope I'll explain it well. So this sugya is brought down in Maseches Trumas twice, and here it's the third time. And let's see what's going on here. So we have to give an introduction to understand this Gemara, this piece. There's a Mishnah in Trumas at Perik Yud Aleph discussing if you are allowed to cook wine from Truma. And the Mishnah says there that Tanakama says you are not allowed to cook wine from Truma, and Rabbi Yehuda says you are allowed to take wine from Truma and cook it. Machlekes in Perik Yud Aleph. Then there's another Mishnah in second Perik that discusses a different, similar discussion, but it's a different discussion. Mishnah discusses there if a Yid is allowed to take off Truma yayin mevushel al she'eina mevushel. Mishnah says there that Rabbi Yehuda says you cannot do it. You cannot separate Truma from mevushel, from cooked wine, on eina mevushel. And the assumption is because mevushel isn't so good. And that's why you're not allowed to take from gerua, from thing that's bad, on a thing that's good. You have to give a schelboy, the best. So that's why the Mishnah says that Rabbi Yehuda says you're not allowed to separate Truma from mevushel upon eina mevushel. This is an introduction to understand this sugya, and now we'll go to the sugya itself. So now they're going on a mission on Perek Yud Aleph. Why does Tanakama say you cannot cook wine of Truma? Because when you cook it, it loses its value. That's what one of them says. This reason, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Eliezer. Obviously, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't care about it, so he said you could cook it. And one of these Amiram Yechner Blaza says, means not so many people like to drink wine that's cooked. Most people like it when it's not uncooked. That's why it's usher to cook wine of Truma, according to Tanakama, obviously. Rabbi Yehuda says it's mutter. He doesn't care about this. He says, no problem, you can go ahead, you can cook the wine of Truma. But we don't know who of these Amiram, Rabbi Yochanan or Blazer, which one said the reason number one, which one says reason number two. The Muras says Milma, the more Rabbi Yochanan. Machal Fashit Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan says there this statement that Rabbi Yehuda's shitta is exchanged. It means that it's contradicting himself, because Rabbi Yehuda in Perik Beis says you are not allowed to separate from mevushel upon eina mevushel. So we see from that mevushel is bad. And here he says you are allowed to cook it. He says you're allowed to cook. So we see that mevushel is good. That's a statement from Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Eliezer said, no, it's not a stira, eina mechlef, it's not a contradiction. Tamam b'koyen v'hocha b'bailam. Depends who is doing it, who is cooking it. Tamam b'koyen. If the kohen does it, it's mutter. That's the Mishnah in Perek Yud Aleph. But the Bailam wants to separate. The Bailam wants to separate. Eina mevushel upon eina mevushel, it's not good. I said Lord Yisrael. It's not good. I will also. I think it's better to write Aval Yisrael Lo Yafrish Vushel Al Einay Mevushel. That's probably the right way how to word it. it's also true he shouldn't cook it, but I think this is the right because we were discussing that Mishnah. However, we see from this answer that Rabbi Yochanan, the Omar nation matam Rabbi Yochanan is the one that says that the reason is because people drink it less and it's not so tasty. So this Gemara needs explanation. It's not so straightforward. The Gemara does not explain itself. And I'll write down the explanation that makes sense here in this Gemara. So I'll first read my words and I'll explain it. Lahachi machlefes. Rabbi Yochanan says it's machlefes. The Hossam Amar Rabbi Yehuda she'ein letoirem min hamavushel the garuah. He says there in Perek Beis that mavushel is bad. That's why you cannot be toirem from mavushel upon ein mavushel. The kan Amar Chachamim the garuah. Here the Chachamim say it's garuah. That's why they say it's aser. The Chachamim say it's aser to cook. Can also Yisrael lavashloi. And the chapes kohen. Okay. So, according to him, both of them are talking that the Yisrael is doing it. Also, akan Amr Chachamim de Geruahi, akan also Yisrael levashloi, ilahafrishoi, litno lekohen. This is that's how he learns that Mishnah. Because it's mere choice, means it's making it bad. A polygraph Yehuda says you are allowed to do it. Yehuda says no problem. The Yid can cook it and then separate it. So it's a clear-cut contradiction. If cooking it makes it better, or makes it worse or not, that's what Rabbi Yochanan holds. That here we see in our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda says you are allowed to cook it because it's not so terrible. It doesn't make it worse. And here Rabbi Yehuda says no, you cannot do it. Cannot separate. Why? Because the Yid wants to cook it and then separate. He cannot do it because he's giving it bad stuff. It's true that cooking it makes it bad. That's clear that Mishnah can only have one reason. Why can't you be toirim from a bushel? Because it's bad. And a bushel is bad. This is what he learns pshat. It's not a stira. This Mishnah in Perek Yud Aleph talks about the kohen in his own house, and he decides it's good. So what does he care? So according to Rabbi Eliezer says that the reason means like this. If the Mishnah in Perek Yud Aleph also has an issue of mir choisov, when is that? If it's in the Yid's house, or no, that Mishnah totally does not have the issue because we're talking the Kohen is doing it. The Kohen is doing it. The Kohen is doing it. So that Mishnah totally did not discuss this issue of Garua, not Garua. It doesn't come into the picture. The Kohen is doing it in his own house. So what is the issue there? Issue is so Rabbi Eliezer is the one that says it's totally not machlefes, because the Mishnah there talks that the Kohen is cooking it. So the Mishnah says you're allowed to cook it. The Kohen is allowed to cook it. He doesn't care about it. But Rabbi Yochanan says machlefes because he says the whole Mishnah there is discussing the idea of garua, that it's getting bad. And according to that, it's talking bebeis Yisrael. Yisrael is cooking the wine in his house. So I think maybe according to him, it's talking about he's cooking it and then giving it for the kohen. That's what it means. Okay, I hope it's well understood. It's not. It needs some explanation, but this is the basic stuff here. That the argument is on the Mishnah. The side of this sugya is the Mishnah that talks about cooking wine, baked with aleph. Is it talking the kohen is doing it in his house, or the yid is doing it before he's giving it for the kohen? If we're talking the kohen doing it in his house, the only reason that can be usher is because it's not a steer. If you say it's talking in the Israel is doing it, then that could be a different reason. Why can't Israel do it? Because it's Magareya. Oh, that's a steer. If you just says there in Perek Yud Aleph, he says that mutter means it's not Magareya. And here in Perek Beis, he says is Magareya. That's why it's usher to cook. That's what that's clear that Perek Beis. But clear the reason is because it's Magareya. That's why it's usher to cook. That's clear. The reason in Perek Beis is because you tear him from Gerua. Yeah, that's clear. The question is, what's the story in Perek Yud Aleph? Okay. Omer Yehuda. Shal Rabbi Yishmael B'Shur, Shal Malchim Derech Ne'emar, Ashru Givin Asanachim. Omer Lem Neshem Midnum Eisa B'Kevas Nevela. They use the Rennet of Nevela. Omer Lem Kevas Ha'oila Chamura. Kevas Nevela. Omer Kohen Shadai to Yafa Soir Fachaya. They say that you're allowed to swallow it. Chazav Omer Loi Neshem Midnum Eisa B'Kevas Egla Avodah Zarah. Lem Kil Omer Loi Ashru Ba'Nor. What's the story here? It should be Asr Bar Law. You see the Dover Acher. He convinced him to a different thing. Amalei Shmuel Achi. Shmuel, my brother. I had to call to him the Dech, I call him the Dayach. Means who is talking? Hashem is talking to Yisrael. That's Lashon Akeva. Or the Yidden are talking to Hashem. Lashon Zacher. Amalei to him the Dayach. And the Vaken Shechavim Lam Shereich Shimonecha to him. So talking Lashon Zacher. So the Yidden are talking to Hashem. That's why they ask you the gewinners Mishnaic, because Roiv and Golem there most calves are Shechtel Shem Avodah Zarah. That's why it's also because they use the rennet from that to make the cheese. Shoma B'Yechan Emar Yofalim Don Rabish Can Ashoichet Behema. The Akum Afil Pirsha Aser. So very well said. Even the garbage of it is Aser. B'Yechan Boy. But tabaz, if you found a ring, carries away the zar, tabaz be'ene, that doesn't change. Pirsha gufay. So that's why it's usher, because we have a problem that even the parish with the zar is usher. So there was we know on this whole subject of making cheese with goyish stuff, there was two periods: Mishnah Rishoina, Mishnah Achrayna. The original version was you cannot use nevela or from a goy. Two separate isurim. Nevela means a Yiddish animal died. And a goyish you cannot buy from a goy at any kind of rennet. So we're matter already nevela. That's the second version. But you still cannot use anything from a goy. That's what Reb Chia Baba. Baba Zav Shep Shmuel by Yitzchak Boya Makar Reb Eliezer. Reb Eliezer Omer Sheves Nachav Tzar. So what's the pshat that you said that you cannot use from a goy? Because what's so bad? We can only assume what's worse. It's not stam level. Level you're allowed to use. So what's the problem? Because Machshavas nachal Avodah Zarah, it has an issue of Avodah Zarah. Besides nevela, has this Avodah Zarah. This is the number one version from Rabbi Baba. Also, Rabbi Aser b'Shem Rabbi Yechanan, no, it's a different version. Even initially, they were also matter to use nevela. Never had an issue with nevela, because the Gemara is going to say it's not considered part of the animal, just like a pirsha ba'alma. Nachri they asked. I guess they thought like Rabbi Eliezer in the beginning. And they said, no, it's not an issue of Avodah Zarah here, so it's no issue whatsoever, because nevela is not, it's not gufa, it's not like the flesh of the nevela, it's just a pirsha ba'alma, it's some garbage, so it's not part of the body. That's why you could, in the end, they could use it. That was the Mishnah Achrayna, the second version, the final version. The other Gemara, Lishon Masneta, the lashon of our Mishnah, Mesayeya, helps out the Chiba Ba. The Mekara Asru Af Kevis Nevela, V'chazru Rak Mizeh. So they were still not Mata Avodah Zarah. Where do we see that? It says Kevas Hanochi V'shal Nevela Asura K'Mishnah V'Shayna. So it means originally both were Aser, and Mishnah Achrayna was only one notch down and said that you could use the Keva of Nevela, but Nachri still stayed with the Isser. Now I was just saying a side note, Reifish Yankov and Akshera, Kivasa Muteres Commission Achrayna. The same story, because the Treifa takes in milk from the mother, so the Keva that is not part, just like Nevela, it's not part of the body. But if it's the other way around, that a kosher animal got milk from a treifa, then obviously it's aser, because the milk from a treifa is aser. So just like the milk is aser, the rennet is aser. The only Mishnah Achrayna just said that if it entered the body of nevela or the body of a treifa, it doesn't become aser because pirsha ba'almahi. Okay, this is the end of Daf Yud Aleph.